So the ISB PGP YL deadline for the round 2 application cycle is due very soon. It is 16th of March 2025, and I hope you are gearing up for your preparation for the GMAT or the GRE test. And the ones who wanted to submit their applications with CAT scores have already submitted. Now, for the people who are planning to apply to the ISB in the round 2 application cycle, your ISB resume will be a very important part of the submission that you will be taking up. Now, so when you are applying to the ISB, a lot of times, there is the PGP or the PGP Pro program. While the ISB requires a resume. So when you are applying to the ISB PGP, however, the way you will or the PGP structure your resume for the ISB because you don't have work experience. However, very limited work experience will be very different from someone who will have substantial work very limited. So this workshop today will be very different from the context of people who will have lower work experience as well as zero work experience. We have brought up, tried to show them how they can structure their resume, build their resume for a strong as well as zero work experience, and tried to show them how they can structure their resume. And in case you have any questions, feel free to leave your questions in the comments, and do feel free to reach out to us in case you need any help. And in case you have any questions, or please do feel free to leave your questions in the comments. So the first thing that you should know about is that ISB has given a sample interview format in the application portal itself. When you are starting to build your resume with this particular workshop, please do download that format and keep everything aligned. So the first thing that you should know about is that ISB has given a sample when crafting your resume for an MBA application, especially as a fresher or as someone so when you are starting to build your resume with this particular workshop, please do download that format and keep that as, and also talk about keep everything aligned to that particular format specifically. What you are putting together. So what all can you highlight? This should be a base for crafting your resume for an MBA application. The ISB resume that you put up for your PGP YL application must have these underlying principles. Your leadership skills, you need to be able to showcase your in your ISB resume, and also talk about your story. Experiences you have had in what you are putting extracurriculars or internships need to be highlighted in this. This should be a base, and you can also showcase your academic excellence. Now, there's ISB resume that you put up for your PGP YL application, and very specifically have these underlying principles. It is a guideline that you should not be mentioning your grades in the. So three things that we need to show mentioning your grades, your GPA or your test scores in the whatever experiences you have had in academics, your extracurriculars or internships need to be highlighted in this. Cannot show that there are other ways to showcase your academic also showcase your academic. Make sure that you are doing that. Now, there's one point over here that ISB talks about. Third, and very specifically your personal impact. You should be able to show, and it is a guideline. Extracurricular activities and what kind of an impact or what. How you have made a difference to you shouldn't be not be mentioning your grades, your GPA or your test scores if you are a fresher or someone that is a mandatory requirement. Now, the format typically has major sections which are cannot show that there are other ways to showcase your academic excellence. Work experience, make sure that you can use to showcase your internships or your part-time roles. Third and extracurriculars your personal as well as you should be able to show. So these are the four major sections which will be extracurricular activities when you are starting to with your ISB resume, how you have made a difference to those extracurricular build up a word file through the ISB resume, which will have if you are a fresher information or that someone you have with lesser work experience to put in terms of your internships, your part-time roles. Categorize the information and throw them in these major sections, so that when you are sitting down to put up your final resume, you will be able to prioritize which you can use to showcase your internships or your part-time roles and extracurriculars as well as working on your resume. So these are the four major sections which will be. How do you structure relevant for you when you are starting to with your ISB resume? Showcase leadership, impact, and scale build up through your word files. For example, you can say that you led all the information that you have, or to put in terms of your internships, your part-time roles, and just categorize the information and throw them in these boxes. So it is important for you to be able to that when you are sitting down to put up your final resume, so make sure that the bullet points are structured in a manner that information in the right showcase these particular aspects of your achievements. So when you are every section working possible. On your in resume terms of academic, what are the achievements? How can you really showcase your when you don't have the liberty of mentioning your grades showcase or your leadership, CGPA, impact, and how do you really showcase that in the resume? For example, you can see that you led a mid-10-member academic performance. Or you can also talk about the kind of projects that you have done, 2 lakhs the kind of achievements that you have had, highlight and quantify the results. So maybe if you can, it is important for you to be able to showcase that is not allowed in the resume. So but you can make sure that the bullet points are structured of that project that manner that showcase. So for example, you developed a predictive analytics achievements model achieving 85% accuracy in forecasting the sales trends. So this is something that also talks about your academic achievements. It does not tell about what really when you don't have the liberty of mentioning your grades or your CGPA. It's a nice and a very showcase that interesting way of putting forward your academic achievements while performance. You can also talk about the kind of projects that you have done, the kind of achievements that you have had, highlight the highlight and quantify the results. So maybe if you cannot just mention your internships, that is not allowed to quantify the results. But you can also quantify other results as a part of that project, show that practical exposure. So talk about the teams that you have worked with. Talk about so for example, this particular experience you developed a predictive analytics for the model challenges. Achieving 85% accuracy when you're building your resume for your ISB PGP YL application. So this is something that also talks about your academic achievements. It does not tell about what really are a very good way of looking you. So they give us insights about a nice and a very teamwork, interesting way of putting forward your academic achievements. Don't write in a very generic way. Something very generic will be something like participated in your internship contributions. However, look at the resume ready statement would rather be secure the first place in the positions that you have held, whatever you have achieved in your internships. It shows try and quantify the results of the event and also showcasing strong analytical exposure that you have had. Show that say that practical exposure, or you can talk about the teams that you have worked with. What you really talk about in that how this particular leadership experience prepared you for the professional challenges. So focus on your extracurricular activities. Third is when you're highlighting the right resume for your ISB PGP YL application, especially achievements as much as possible before you really put them into the resume. Are a very good there's a section for pro bono experience. They give us insights in the pro bono experience, your teamwork, a very valuable section to highlight your volunteering activities. So let's say you volunteered for an NGO. Try something very generic will be something like the teams participated in debates and competitions. Describe the scale, the resume ready example, and define what your responsibilities were. The resume ready statement would rather be secure the first place in the national debate competition. Did you bring in more mentors for the NGO? Did you what was the scale of the event? Outreach for the strong analytical NGO, or did you really just say that fundraising for the NGO? Or you can talk volunteering for an NGO is a very generic word to achieve in very generic way of saying leadership experience. However, I can really go about saying the same thing. So focus on your extracurricular activities. Talking about volunteered for the NGOs, highlighting the right skills, and teaching 50 plus children, quantify the academic performance achievements as much as possible. You will also know this method as the STAR method. However, it is important to understand how it will really apply. So there's a section for pro bono experience. Some mistakes to avoid when you are building your resume for your a very valuable section to highlight your volunteering activities. It with let's say you volunteered for an NGO. Put in everything that you have done. Talk about the teams that you were a part of. Try and keep it to a one-pager. What happens is that scale, you have been a part of so many activities that you feel a two-page resume is good enough for you. Be specific. Having said that, let me also tell you that when we build the resume for even did you bring in more mentors for try and keep it within one page. So a one-pager is a standard format. Outreach for the NGO, or did you really just go to fundraising for the NGO? And so volunteering for an NGO is a very generic word. Same skill, the very generic way of saying the one that really showcases I can really go about saying the same thing in a different focus way. On your responsibility about quantify your achievements. Literacy program, don't write generic statements. Teaching 50 plus children, manage the academic performance conducted, fundraising activities. You will also know this method put in as many metrics and specific results. However, it is important to understand how it will really apply that you had during this particular leadership experience that you want to showcase. Worked on event management. Some mistakes to avoid when you are building your resume. You can also write it as application. Let the sponsorship don't overload it with generic businesses for the don't try and put in everything that you have done. Try and prioritize. Talk about what you keep it to a one-pager. What happens is that you were working in teams. Been a part of so many activities that you feel a two-page resume is coming to the achievement section. Having said that, use a lot of action-oriented the resume for even there is a list of strong verbs that you will get keep it from a lot of websites. So a one-pager is a standard search will give you so many options. Don't overload your resume. Which of those verbs can you use in your maybe achievement section and communicate the same skill, the same thing. The one that with really showcases the maximum quantify value. Your achievements as much as possible. Focus on your responsibility, quantify your achievements. Keep a pattern of high performance generic statements. Don't keep in redundant activities, and it is also very important for you to prioritize activities. You will have done so many things. Try and put in as many metrics and specific results as well as specific roles and responsibilities for the that you had during this. When you are building your resume for your ISB PGP YL application, please make sure that you leverage your academics in the right manner. There are some things which you are not allowed to do as a part of your submission for the
event
ISB application
in the college,
which
so
is
you can also
you
write
cannot
it
write
as
your
let the
contact
sponsorship
details, you
team
cannot write
securing
your
1 lakh from local
grades,
businesses for
GPA
the
as
college
well as
fest.
test scores.
Try and
So find
quantify,
other
try and
ways
show
of how you
impact,
can
talk
communicate
about
the
what
value
you
that you bring to
exactly
the
did.
table.
And if
Emphasize on
you
your
were working
leadership
in teams,
skills that you
is a
have
must
gained
to
through your
show in your
internships.
resume.
Focus on everything, internships as well as your pro bono
Coming to the
work,
achievement section,
extracurricular activities,
use
and the
a lot of
part-time jobs that you might have
action-oriented
done.
language. There is a
Try
list
and
of strong
quantify
verbs
impact.
that you will get
Use specific
from a lot of
metrics
websites,
so that you are able to
simple
show your
Google search will give
contributions
you so many
even in
options.
volunteer work.
Try and see,
just
which
put
of
in
those verbs
some
can you
time to
use
see
in
what is
your
the best
achievement
way
section
to do
and
that,
how highlight
and customize your resume for every
outcomes
application,
with
every
numbers,
school.
with metrics.
If you are planning to
Quantify
apply
your
to the
achievements
deferred
as
MBA
much as
applications
possible,
or even the
and then
master's applications,
you
each
know
school
keep a
will look
pattern
for
of high
something
performance
different,
across
and your
activities.
experiences can be
Don't keep in
translated
redundant
into
activities,
different
and it is
values
also
that
very
you bring to the
important for
table.
you to
Every experience has so many
prioritize.
aspects.
You will have done so many
try and
things.
highlight those
See which
particular
one do you
aspects
want
for
to
the
add over here,
particular
which will
resume
add
that
the
you are
maximum
submitting.
value.
That's
For
it
the
from me
application.
for your ISB PGP YL resume section. All the best.
So
And
coming
in case
back
you need
to
any
the points
assistance
again that we
with
have
your
discussed
ISB
so
PGP
far,
YL application
when you are building
or your
your
interview
resume
prep,
for
feel
your
free to
ISB
get in touch
PGP
with
YL
us. For any
application,
questions
please make
around
sure
this
that you leverage your
particular topic that
academics
we
in the
have
right
discussed,
manner.
there are some things which you are
Definitely leave your
not allowed
questions
to
in the
do as a
comments or
part
reach
of
out
your
to us
submission
as well.
for the ISB application.
Thank you for hearing
Which
me out.
is you
have a
cannot
good day.
write your contact details, you cannot write your grades, GPA, as well as test scores. So find other ways of how you can communicate the value that you bring to the table. Emphasize on your leadership skills that you have gained through your internships. Focus on everything, internships as well as your pro bono work, extracurricular activities, and the part-time jobs that you might have done. Try and quantify impact. Use specific metrics so that you are able to show your contributions. Even in volunteer work, you can do that. Try and just put in some time to see what is the best way to do that, and customize your resume for every application, every school. If you are planning to apply to the deferred MBA applications or even the master's applications, each school will look for something different, and your experiences can be translated into different those different values that you bring to the table. Every experience has so many aspects, so try and highlight those particular aspects for the particular resume that you are submitting. So that's it for us. That's it from me for your ISB PGP YL resume section. All the best. And in case you need any assistance with your ISB PGP YL application or your interview prep, feel free to get in touch with us. For any questions around this particular topic that we have discussed, you can definitely leave your questions in the comments or reach out to us as well. Thank you for hearing me out and have a good day.